We only know happiness because we've all felt sadness. We only know how it feels to love someone because we've all felt hate in some way. We only know how it feels to be successful because we've all failed at one time or another. It was a regular morning in August when I heard these words and others that would change my perspective on how I go about my life. School had just started, which for me meant that I needed to start applying to colleges and start thinking about which ones I wanted to apply to. I was in one of my classes, and my teacher was talking to us about the importance of a college education. Now, at first, I was off in my own world, thinking about how I was going to respond to the essay prompt on one application, as well as trying to figure out how I was going to make myself a better candidate for these different universities. Then, Mr. Montoya said something that snapped me out of my strategizing session and got me listening. He said, "Each and every one of you will fail. It's a given fact. There's not a single person on this planet who has not failed at one time or another. And that's okay. Because it's how you respond to these failures that determines who you are as a person." These words struck at a really personal level for me, and at first I wasn't too sure why. I left that class with so many questions, and after thinking about it for a while, I realized why they had such a huge impact on me. You see, every single year since I started middle school, I had to fill out this piece of paper. On this piece of paper, I had to list my goals and plans for the next 5 years, whether it be getting good grades or taking that extra foreign language class. Now, having a plan is good and all, but now that I look back, I realize that it made me hesitant to branch out in ways I hadn't thought of, and that it gave me this irrational fear of failure. In other words, instead of looking forward into my future, I was looking over my shoulder into the past, making sure that I hadn't strayed from my plan. Now, I'm pretty sure that a lot of you know exactly how I felt. There's this thing called the millennial mentality, which is a wide set of ways of thinking and principles that our generation functions off of. One of these ways of thinking is if you set your mind to it, it will easily be yours mentality. The issue with this way of thinking is that it sets a false expectation that failure can't happen or that it's not an option. And if you do fail, it's your own fault. For instance, let's say you're in school and you just can't get those straight A's that you really want. If we were to go off this way of thinking, the issue is that you just aren't trying hard enough, which isn't always the case. How do we combat this way of thinking? How do we combat the notion that failure is not an option? I have 2 words for you, which aren't only really fun to say, but are also the keys to overcoming this mentality: persistence and resilience. Let's take the first one, persistence. To be persistent is to stand up and dust yourself off again after failure knocks you off your feet. That last time that you tried, something must have not gone right, or else you wouldn't have stumbled. Persistence is going back and doing the same exact thing, but tweaking that one factor that might have tripped you up and doing so over and over again until you get it right. Now, when I think about persistence, the perfect example that comes to mind is my 10-month-old goddaughter, Alessandra. Now, other than being the cutest baby on this planet, might be a little bit biased, but she is the poster child for persistence. The thing about Alessandra is that she loves to be around the action and just watch. Watch her parents, watch the animals, watch her surroundings, just watch. And that baby right there, she realized something. She realized, why depend on mom and dad to get me to the action? There has to be a way for me to get there by myself. And thus began her quest to start crawling. Now, at first, she was like a turtle on its shell, where she would lay on her stomach and she would flail her arms and legs, trying to move. Didn't work out so well. Then she developed this lunging technique where she would use her arm to drag her body from point A to point B. Now it worked, but she knew there was a better way. After lots of failed attempts and tons of sobs out of frustration, that baby right there is a crawling champ. She's unstoppable because of how persistent she was. Which leads us to our second word, resilience, or having that bounce back factor after failure knocks you off your feet. Just because you're persistent doesn't mean that things get easier after that first, second, or even third try. The truth is, when failure knocks you off your feet time after time, it's going to hurt. And it's going to seem so easy to say, well, it's just not the time. Or, well, I've done this so many times, I just won't worry about it this time. Giving up on whatever you're doing, or giving a half-hearted effort, is cheating and depriving yourself of another chance to be successful and beat failure. You have to put in just as much effort, energy, and effort into your 10th try as you did your first. So persistence is being able to stand up and dust yourself off again, but resilience is being as strong as ever when you stand back up. I'm being honest when I say that I really wish that someone had given me this advice before my senior year of high school. If I had known that it was okay to move away from my plan and fail along the way, my high school career would have been completely different. I wouldn't have been so shy to join that new club or to take that one class that just seemed so freaking hard. I would have lived my life instead of living my plan. So go out there into the world. Take those risky chances in life. And if you trip up along the way, then congratulations. At least you know what not to do when you try again. Because in the end, failure is always an option.